Right. We are live. As usual, I will wait for a couple of seconds, maybe a minute, for people to start coming in, and then I'll start talking because at the very moment, just no one there. So I'll just give it a second, and then, obviously, guys, as you're coming in, what I always do is I will encourage you to, especially in this first opening couple of minutes where I'm still kind of warming up, so to speak. Come here and post all your questions down in the comments. If you're on Twitch, if you're on YouTube, if you're on Restream, or even on X, I would encourage you to comment. Uh, we do get comments, we do get lots of views on X, but I and Dev, when he's here, we do try and read all of your questions, and then I can obviously feature your questions on the screen as well if you're interested in that. So please don't hesitate to participate. And also, what we did last time was I picked a question that was particularly interesting, and then I posted it on my socials as well, on X in particular, and then it was basically an open floor for discussion. Right, we opened it to everyone else, all opinions. So if you do have interesting questions, or if you do have things you want to discuss with us, I would encourage you to do so because there's a high chance you can end up well end up on the stream, and people will read your comments, and obviously we will try and answer your comments as in depth as we possibly can. Obviously, um, this can vary depending on the question, but yeah, that's kind of what it is. Okay, so I can see people are joining in, about 50 people. um oh, we got a comment already, so thank you, guys. I will get to that question in a minute, guys. So let's start with just some housekeeping. Let's put it that way. Obviously, I am by myself tonight. Dev is on a trip. His job is very demanding, and it requires him to travel a lot. And this whole week he has been, I think he's in San Francisco or something, but he's been traveling this week, so he couldn't make it tonight. It wouldn't be fair of me to ask him to do a live straight after a massive work trip that was a week long. So it's just me tonight, and hopefully this doesn't bore you quickly, guys. But I'm gonna keep it shorter tonight, because yeah, I am by myself, and usually when I do start rambling and there's no dev to balance me out and stop me when I need to be stopped, I guess it does get a bit repetitive and boring. And we'll get on the questions. There's some questions on Bernal already, and I will touch upon Bernal because, guys, I do have opinions on Bernal. But let's start with this, just the basic stuff, which is we did win, and we did turn this into a fairly routine win, or a routine thrashing, if you will. The second half, Barca definitely the better Barca, as we normally. I think at this point we're used to seeing Barca reinvigorated or just revived in the second half, and this is a very interesting phenomenon, and we would need to look more into it to actually see, okay, this is what's causing it. Uh, we would love to imagine as well that it's Flick also yelling his lungs out in the locker room at halftime, saying, "Okay, just you guys are not good enough. Start doing things that we planned." But at this point, it just has to be said that yes, Barca are much better in the second half, and tonight is again a clear example of that. But we have seen numerous times, even in the Champions League as well, even in our last Champions League against Copenhagen. Maybe that was the biggest example of them all, where you had a sluggish and a slow Barca who could not connect play really well in the first half, and then the second half, Barca just clicks. But it also has to do with the fact that Barca are very much a team that will wear you down over time. This is what we do. This is what we used to be famous for under Pep Guardiola, in particular. Not so much maybe under Lucho, or maybe not even under Flick, because these two coaches preferred quicker, um, quicker football in general. Whereas when you play at your own pace, so to speak, when you play a bit of a slower tempo football, it does it can be boring for the neutrals and even for the fans of the club. But then the players who keep chasing the ball, the opposition players who keep chasing the ball, they don't, right. It's just it wears them down eventually, and that could be why these teams just put everything they've got in the first half. They try and plug every gap in the structure, and this is also something that has happened with Mallorca or happened with Mallorca tonight as well. Because if you look at the first half, they were brilliant in shutting down the space. When you fight such a low block, and we know Barca don't like a low block. No one likes a low block. Ask, I don't know, Pep Guardiola, ask Mikel Arteta. Well, Arteta has different ways of dismantling low blocks, which is, we can come to that. But Barca, for example, they don't like low blocks, and possession heavy teams generally won't prefer facing these low blocks. And then Frankie de Jong, I think he went out and even talked to the press a couple of weeks back, I think, when he said, okay, we prefer these open games. And of course he does, because there's more space to exploit. The Barca, a team that exploits space, vertical space especially, incredibly well. And tonight, the first half, what you had in that first half was essentially a very deep block from Mallorca. They were plugging space both in the inside channels and the outside channels really well. Now, a couple of reasons why that was so effective against this Barca is because Barca had no pocket play. What does that mean? So when you do have these low blocks that kind of they compact the space both vertically and horizontally. Essentially, what you end up doing is you're facing a team that is dominating, or maybe not dominating, but they are occupying a very small area of the pitch, in this very central area and close to the box. That means, where is the space? The space is always on the outside of that block. It's not inside the block, because they're congesting it vertically and horizontally. And the space is also not behind the block, because they sit very deep or very high, depending on which perspective you're looking at it from. So the space is always going to be from on the outside. And this is exactly why you saw the likes of Fermin Lopez, or even Casado, or even Dani Olmo pull out of the block and receive passes just outside the block, because that's where the space was. And that's a problem, because then what happens is you don't have any pocket play. You don't have a presence between the lines. Because usually when you do face these low block teams, where is usually the space apart from the obvious that I just shown, which is on the outside? That's what makes the half spaces so dangerous. Because if you try and stretch that block, so let's say you have a reference point number 9, which we did have with Lewandowski down the middle, and then you have flanks, you have withholders in, I don't know, Rashford, it was Lamine, it was Balde at times, but you have these reference points on the outside as well. What happens then? That stretches the block horizontally, right? And if the opposition team is very deep, it means you can't really stretch them vertically unless you invite them towards yourself, invite them out. Mallorca did not have any aspirations of coming out and pressing Barca on the ball. They were coming out obviously when they were attacking, but not defensively, right? So the only option was to stretch the pitch horizontally. So where is the space now? If if Mallorca don't want our wingers to receive the passes isolated and in space, they had to pull someone out of that little box that they were occupying, right? And with Lamine specifically, this kept happening because they had to pull one, two, or three players at times to mark Lamine Yamal. And so, where does the space appear then? The space usually appears in these lines between the center backs and the full backs, which we call half spaces, right? So, that's where generally, if you want to stretch a low block team, you stretch them horizontally, or if you can't draw them out, right? And Mallorca were not going to be drawn out, right? So, I think the spaces would always, in these cases, be found in the between in between zones, um, and Barca kind of failed to exploit that in the first half. Part of the reason why is also circulation, right? We often talk about this, and we mention this as the rhythm or tempo. That is correct to an extent. Sometimes speed won't get you enough to unlock a deep block. Tonight, we lacked speed. Why? Well, if you do stretch the pitch horizontally, and then you're very slow to access that space, you give the opposition the time to reshuffle or to reposition. And what happens then? They can still plug those holes that have been created by your horizontal stretching. And that is why, in this case, you need those two together, mixed together. So you need horizontal stretching, that's number one, and then you need faster ball circulation or faster tempo to access those spaces before they get shut down. And then third thing that I very much like when it comes to unlocking a deep block, and it's also connected to these first two aspects that I talked about, that and that is attacking the block when they are shuffling to the other side. See, when you switch sides, when you force the position to one side and you get this overload to isolate tactic. For those of you that don't know, the overload to isolate is a very basic thing when you pull the majority of the players on the one side, and that means the opposition has to pull their players to that side to match your numbers, but then you leave one guy or two guys on the other side, and they are isolated because there's the opposition cannot commit as many players to that side because they need to react to your overload on the opposite side. Now, when you do that and you quickly want to switch sides to that isolated guy on the other side, the best time to attack a deep or low block is in the moment of reshuffling from one side to the other. That's when they are most vulnerable because their bodies are facing um, horizontally, right? They're facing the touchline essentially, and that's when you attack depth. That's where you attack depth or diagonally attack them. Um, but it has to be done quick as well because if you don't do it quick, what happens? The other team just has enough time to reshuffle. So that was kind of the story of the first half, where Barca had very little presence in the pockets, very little speed in their tempo. And the only guy actually knowing what to do, knowing how to speed up the game and how to attack those spaces was Marcus Rashford, because he would start high and wide, he would cut inside, he would shoot. And when Marcus Rashford shoots, things happen. He doesn't even necessarily have to score goals for his shots to have an impact. We saw that tonight because you just sometimes you just have to let loose and watch as things unfold. Um, but yeah, second half much improved. We know this about Barca. We don't start games well, and that is one of the things that I do think can hurt us in the Champions League, because Champions League games, if you start flat against an opponent who can go toe to toe with you, because let's face it, Mallorca, they did well in the first half defending, but they cannot go toe to toe with Barca. Right? Individual quality reigns supreme in these instances, and Marcus Rashford is a great example again, because when tactics fail you and you have someone like Marcus Rashford who can do these things out of nothing, who can essentially nullify the whole block with just one well placed shot. Now that's a game changer. That's a cheat code, right? But in the Champions League, if you start flat and the opposition can actually go toe to toe with you, and they have the individual quality to match yours, then you're in trouble. So this is definitely something that Flick needs to address, because the second half Barca is one of the most exciting teams on the planet. The first half Barca, not so much. So we'll see what happens. Now I'm getting a lot of Bernal questions, and allow me this, guys. Allow me to also plug our piece on Bernal. I'll drop it down in the comments, so please try and just click on it. You will see a little preview of the piece. It is a paid piece. Just a fair warning, it is a paid piece, but you get to read not half, one third of it maybe for free. Um, so yeah, have a look, and it explains a lot about Marc Bernal. Um, yes, I'm getting a lot of questions on Bernal, and yeah, let's talk about Bernal then, because many people in the comments want to talk about Bernal. So let's talk Bernal. A good performance for him. I don't think that he will be known for his goal scoring, although he does have this. See, one thing that I've noticed, I'm not sure if you guys have noticed it as well, but see, when Casado and Bernal played together, naturally you would kind of assume, okay, Bernal is the six, Casado is the eight. Oftentimes rewatch the game and look at the positioning of these two players. Most of the time, or maybe not most of the time, but many times, I caught them in a reverse role, kind of, right? Bernal was the interior player, and Casada was peeling all the way down and supporting the back line with his presence, which to me, it is it is somewhat surprising from an in possession perspective because Casado is not as press resistant. Casado cannot escape the pressure with just one touch or half a touch. And I know what you mean. What's a half a touch? Well, what Bernal can usually do, he receives the ball in a way and he can position his body and frame in such a way that he can eliminate pressure, sometimes without touching the ball, just manipulating the momentum of the player who's trying to mark him. That is one of Bernal's greatest strengths, and Casado doesn't have that. Casado needs support when he's the lone six. Well, he's really the lone six, but when he's the deepest player, let's put it that way. So it did surprise me. It wasn't always the case. Sometimes Bernal would be the deepest player, and Casado would peel a bit forward, which to me seemed like the more natural thing. Now, we do see that Bernal has these adventurous traits, right? He has this number eight or interior player um, qualities. And I'm not just talking about shooting because shooting is something that he has done in the past. And interestingly enough, see, you can find this um, in the full piece as well because what Bernal used to do uh, back in the academy, he used to play a more advanced role as well. And I think that's why he has these natural instincts to play there as well. It's a very interesting thing, and it gives you a lot of different traits that you can use deeper as well, obviously. And he has learned to play in small spaces thanks to that. Because sometimes when you play as an advanced player, say a attacking midfielder, number 10, whatever it is, you often occupy those zone 14 areas, or the zone 14, as you know, everyone knows about that. It's just a little zone just ahead of the the box, the penalty box, at the edge of the penalty box, just under it. Um, and that place is usually crowded. And when you have players constantly playing in those zones where there's little space, they learn how to be those small space dominators. That's the term I use for Dani Olmo, for example. And Bernal is not as dominant in that small space. It's just his frame. He looks a bit gangly, a bit lanky, right, like Busquets, but he moves kind of moves like Pedri, right? Now, before you jump on my throat, no, he's not on that level. He doesn't. He can't manipulate his frame to that extent. No one can, arguably. Like Pedri is very unique in that way, but he does move like a bigger or taller Pedri, right? Which is absolutely amazing, especially for your pivot because of the ability to shrug off or evade dueling or marking sometimes without touching the ball. So that is, but now for me, he does complete this midfield and he's been getting more and more minutes, which tells me, okay, Flick has not abandoned all hope. And even more to the point, there were talks about Bernal leaving on loan, but I think Flick stopped it. Him, obviously, Bernal himself wants to stay. He said so himself. I think it was after Copenhagen or something. He says, okay, I'm 100% fit and I'm 100% committed to this club. So from that perspective, I would say that yes, I think he has the trust of the coach, which is absolutely amazing and absolutely crucial. But he's also getting the minutes now. So very, very happy. Yes, Van Lee, good to see you again. It's just have the pleasure of seeing my face, Van Lee, tonight. No Dev tonight, so just me. Um, but yes, I'm happy you're here. I'm happy for Bernal as well. Yes. Um, okay, let's talk Jules Kounde. Tricky, tricky one, huh? um, I will. Hmm. So where do I start on Kounde? So I would say that what we're seeing is both a physical and mental or psychological decline of a player, which is kind of in line with what we're seeing on the pitch, right? Because you would think, okay, Kunde used to be a bit faster. He used to be a bit more agile. He used to react a bit better. And yes, so there's definitely physical traits that have deteriorated with Kunde. It's also kind of psychological. It's like he's in a very big psychological mental slump or something, and that affects how we um exudes these qualities outward. Like that's just that's what I feel like is happening. And yes, I think he needs rest, Van Lee, but then Flick doesn't seem to think Cancelo is ready. Um, which is fair enough because Cancelo, remember, he's not in great match sharpness level, a great match sharpness level as of yet because he's not played much football, and not just at Barca. I'm talking about the season as a whole prior to Barca. It might take him time, and he might not even get there. We don't know. But generally, Cancelo does really well in the opening couple of months of his transfer. That's how he operates. That's when he's most fired up. That's when he's most motivated, and that's generally speaking when you would expect him to perform the best. Now, if he was fit or match sharp, yes, but there still seems to be a disconnect. You can see glimpses of what he can do going forward. Going back, like defending, he won't fix anything there. But going forward, he might. He just might. So Flick opting not to play Kunde or Cancelo or anyone else for that matter instead of Kunde over Kunde is a bit concerning to me because I do agree, Van Lee, he does need rest. He needs rest badly. And even just to reset and but also to show him that look, if you don't perform, you will get benched. And that's just what needs to happen to anyone, really. We were calling for Frankie's head at one point. He needs to get benched, needs to get benched. And not just him, everyone goes, well, not everyone, right? But most players go through this. Balde, Lewandowski, Ferran, Olmo. I mean, Olmo, look at that. Um, and obviously Rashford as well. Lamine, not so much, Pedri, not so much. But most of the team, of the players do go through those spells. And then let's say that Kunde is benched. How would you guys okay, let me know in the comments. How would you guys line up without Kunde in the squad in the first 11, right? Because then you play Eric as a center back. Okay, if you play Eric as a center back, and Eric is a very good partner for Kubarsi. We know that much. And he's one of those most stable performance on this team at the moment. Performers on this team at the moment. I'm not saying he's the guy that's going to make Barca break it to the limits. He's not. He's not that guy. But the fact of the matter remains that he has a very stable presence and he's really performing at a high level. You need to play Eric somewhere. If everyone's fit, you're not playing Eric in midfield. Probably not. Um, in midfield, where you got Frankie and Pedri as given, they are players who will be there when fit. The third player can be Olmo, can be Furman. I don't think it will be Eric in that sense. So if it's not Eric, and if Eric is Kubarsi's preferred partner, which seems to be the case as of right now, and Flick doesn't really want Cancelo on the right, who plays there? Let me know down below because that's a tricky one. Okay, let's see what else we've got in terms of questions. Um, Isaac says the first half's pretty bad. Yes, and that is it's one of those things, Isaac. I spoke about this earlier in the stream. I'm not sure if you were here or not, but well, let me just do this. Do you guys prefer if I stick the comments here on the screen for you to see, just so you see that yes, you are being featured um, on the stream. So if you do ask questions, the questions will pop up on the stream. Yes, first half Barca. I spoke about it earlier in the stream, Isaac. But it's a real thing, and in La Liga, it's not as punishing because there's not many teams that can actually take advantage of a flat start. There's not that many teams who can actually come in and match us, blow for blow. Champions League, if you start flat, you might finish flat because your second half resurrection might not be enough to get you out of the trouble that you dug yourself in the first half. Um, so that's kind of what I'm thinking at the moment. That's my biggest concern. In La Liga, we can always come back. I think there's not that many teams that will give us as that will make. Someone's saying the broadcast is not available. What do you mean? Try now. Uh, I'm pretty sure it is. It should be live everywhere. But I'm getting messages that the broadcast is not available. Let me just check. Are we live everywhere? Yeah, we should be live on YouTube. We're definitely live on X and Restream. Any Twitch viewers here? There's just one Twitch viewer. Whoever you are, kudos to you. Thank you so much for watching. But yeah, hopefully that has fixed it. Well, fixed it, not fixed it, but I don't think it was broken. Um, at least I hope it wasn't. I will. I'll see what I can do though. I'm just waiting for the guy to respond. Anyway, guys, yeah, let's keep moving then. Um, expecting Simeone 4-4-2 on Thursday. Look, that's my biggest worry. Lookman seems to be fantastic, fantastic purchase for Simeone, um, and exactly what he needs. And it's interesting because Atletico Madrid, of all the teams, right, in La Liga, if you look back, not just this season, not just January of 2026, but if you look back a couple of seasons, Atletico Madrid have spent half a billion or something. I don't even know what the actual number is, um, but it's a lot. And this has been made possible by a couple of things. Obviously, they did make sales, right? Remember, because they have let go of players. They have released wages as well because there were some players on higher wages that they need to get rid of. Um, they had some investments come in as well. Remember that they had some success in Europe and in cup play as well. Obviously, didn't win trophies, but still. And then you have the fact. See, it's why is it easier for Atletico Madrid to build a project? They don't do these massive, what do you call them? Massive full team overhaul. Don't do those things. It's just not the way they operate. However, they've had Cholo Simeone at the helm for like decades. Right? He's been here forever. I don't remember a time when he wasn't here. Right? Of course, exaggerating, but you know what I mean. And when you have a single coach throughout the tenure, you you can base your project around that coach because he's there to stay or he has been there to stay so far. And you can aim you can go into the market, you can actually buy players that will fit the philosophy of the club because you're a one coach club, so to speak, right? Whereas in Barca, it's difficult. These coaches at Barca, they get churned out sometimes on a yearly basis because at Barca, obviously different cultures and different situations because at Barca you have different expectations as well. But Atletico Madrid also have high expectations. I would say they're not a small club by any means, but if they don't win La Liga, it's not the end of the world. If they don't win Champions League, of course, it's not the end of the world. For Barca, it's much different. So that's why the churn out of coaches is much different, but also makes things easier for them. And they can spend £500,000 knowing that, okay, well, we're actually building the team for the coach that's here to stay. Although there have been talks about Simeone potentially leaving or whatnot, but we get those regularly. So I don't know when it will actually happen or if it will ever happen. But yes, Vanley, to your point, I digressed a little bit. I think we will see something similar, but at the same time, it is tough because Atletico are not easy. They're not going to be easy, especially because of that comment, Vanley. So I do wonder what Flick has in mind because, and to be fair to Kounde, another thing is sometimes it's not just the players themselves, because we do leave Kunde out to dry a lot of times as well. So I would say it's kind of a double-edged sword, right? Next one. Lamine is in flow state, and it's lovely. I love this streams. Please keep them coming. Thank you so much. I Today is just me. You have the pleasure of watching just my face, full screen, um, and watching me ramble for half an hour. So well, it's already been half an hour. Jesus, I was gonna end it at half an hour, but let's keep going because there's a lot of questions, guys. If you do like the stream, and I don't like saying this, but it would help us massively if you subscribe to the channel. I will post the link to our blog, because our blog is everything to us. That's there you go. There you go. It's in the comments right there. This is our bread and butter. This is where we post all of our content, our most in-depth content, and we are struggling to, we really want to turn this into our livelihood. We want to do this, guys, for a living, but you know how it is. The market is what the market is. But if you do like the streams, you can see also the coffee bot, the coffee stream bot. You can always donate a couple of bucks, $1, or whatever you want, and buy us coffee. Anything, guys, anything helps really, because it does show us that okay, we're doing something well. Because if people are watching, and to be fair to you guys, thank you so much. There's 800 people watching us on a random Saturday um, evening or just afternoon, and it's just me. So that might also, you know, persuade some people not to watch. I get that, but 800 people watching us on X, 17 people on YouTube. I know YouTube is not our strongest point, and one Twitch streamer. You go, guy. You go. If you or lady. I don't know. The vast majority of our audience is male. Vast. I mean like 90 something percent. Um, but yeah, thank you guys for watching. And if you would subscribe to the channel, to the blog, please, that would really help us out. We are building this slowly but surely, but sometimes it's just great to get some sort of validation and see, okay, these guys are actually enjoying the content so much that they will subscribe. But yes, to your point, Lamine is in full flow state, and he's been. See, the thing with Lamine that impresses me the most is that every single game we go out on these streams, we go on Twitter, we go on these highlight reels, and we say, okay, this that was Lamine's best performance ever. And it's true. It's almost always true until the next game. You know what I mean? Like every week we keep hearing this, and every week it's true. So how insane is that? But one thing I did want to mention or talk to you guys about is Lamine's goal scoring, right? Because remember, we keep hearing this. It's his goal scoring. He needs to be scoring more goals. He has 22 goal contributions in 30 games, 73%. And then halfway through this campaign, right? We're halfway through this season, and he has already scored more league goals than in last season. Guys, this guy is consistently improving his output, like his goal scoring output, and he will be. I don't see a future in which Lamine is not a great goal scorer. He's already getting there. He's already a good and to above, not above average, but he's already a good goal scorer. Just needs, I think he needs to start scoring the easy goals. That's what I tweeted earlier tonight as well. He scores these bangers, and they're absolutely beautiful. He misses the quote unquote easier goals. There's no easy goals in football. You have to work for every single goal, well, the vast majority of them. But when he does find himself in those situations, like tonight as well, that what was that? It was a deflection or something. Something happened. And he was in front of goal, just had to slide his foot and score. It's the kind of chance that you would expect anyone to score, and it's the kind of chance that it's harder to miss than to score. That makes sense. When he starts scoring those tap ins, those easier quote unquote goals, then I think that's when his numbers will truly skyrocket. Right. Let's see what else we've got. Quite a lot, and I'm loving this. Thank you so much for these. Let's see. John says teams who adapt to Barcelona often change their entire system making tech. Absolutely, and this is especially true for the. I don't like calling teams smaller teams, but smaller teams do tend to do this, and bigger teams adapt to Barca as well. Everyone does this. They all try and tweak their systems, positioning of players, roles of players, structures, formations, tactics, whatever you want. They all tweak it to accommodate, or not to accommodate, to optimize beating Barcelona. Uh, and you can't say that about every top club, but yes. And then it's always like an event for them, right? It's a massive event for them, for these small teams. Take Albacete, for example, or who was it before them that we faced? Uh, can't remember now. Of course, I can't. But these lower division teams, when they get giants of La Liga playing in the Copa against them and coming to their stadiums, their home ground, they're carried by these supernatural desires to win, right? And it gives them these abilities, and they overperform. They just perform like possessed. So it is a real thing, John Doe. It is a real thing. Um, Junaid, sorry if I mispronounced that, says any opinion on Osimhen as Lewandowski replacement and CB signed that fits the system. Yeah, I spoke a lot about Osimhen. I speak about him every so often. I'm a huge fan. I'm a massive fan. He was top of my list, in fact. Near the top of my list. Osimhen is someone I think would transform this team. Now, people have been saying, okay, but he has attitude problems, and yes, I think that's something that potentially cannot be coached. Although I wouldn't put it past Flick. Flick is a great man manager. He's very respectable. I think if Osimhen was to respect someone, it might just well be Flick. Ability wise, absolutely would fit. Let's see. KG Leon, thank you so much for coming back. Another one of our regular viewers, and you are much appreciated. Thinking again, minutes is surprising. Hope it's a personal issue, not physical, but I'm glad Casa got a full 90. It was much better than second half. I think it might have just been resting him for the midweek games. I think that's all there is to it. There was no need for Frankie tonight, and that's fantastic. And it ties into your Casado comment because if you can't have Casado playing these quote unquote smaller games where you play when you play teams from the lower end of the table or middle of the table, then when are you going to use them if not then? And tonight, yes, Casado, rough first half, better second half. Um, but that's exactly why he's here. He's not here to burst Barcelona's ceiling. He's just there to provide quality depth and make us not miss Frankie or Pedri or whoever it is so much. Obviously, they're never gonna replace them outright, but tonight was a sign. Okay, maybe in some games there's a place for Casado, and he can actually help us arrest these big guns, and that's it. And next comment was. I hope I did answer your question. Sorry, yes, taking me a while. I am going through every single one of these guys. I'm going what one by one. Um, it's taking me some time to reach all of you guys, but I'm trying. I really am. We spoke about this. Tommy, very interesting. Like, okay, let me just have a look. Uh, just see I'm trying to look at minutes played just to confirm this, right? So tonight, Barcelona Mallorca. Let me see. Thomas Marquez, 84th minute. Was it? Yeah, 84th minute. That's when he entered the pitch. A couple of niggling niggling issues and retention and movement. Nothing too major. I mean, it's not a big sample to even call him on, I would say, but it's great that he's been given a chance. And in these moments when you are 3-0 up, it's then or never, right? For some of these players. And I spoke a lot about Bernal, or Sebt. Um, I spoke a lot about Bernal. So, and if you like, just go and have a look at the article I posted. It has all my thoughts on Bernal. Rashford striking, another question from you, is very good and can help us. He's busy. I would agree. Um, I would say this was the game in which he showed most intent. Right, from minute one. You could see he was on a mission, a man on a mission, and he knew exactly how to face these deep block teams. Right, and his ball striking, as you say, can help us, especially against the Mallorcas of the world, because there's no tactic in the world of stopping that cannon of his. Right, it's just you have to hope that either the strike is not good enough or the goalkeeper is having his best moment ever. So um, this is the link to the Bernal piece. If anyone fancies it, have a look. Barca Football is our blog. Have a look there and read and enjoy. Rashford Balsing is useful, Layla. Yes, it is. Set pieces. I think he is our best set piece taker, or maybe free kick taker, if you will. I think so. And I think he can score more than just that one goal. I really hope Barca don't fall into trouble Lewandowski 1 years. It's tough, right? Because you can clearly see that he's nearing the end, right? Especially for this Barca thing. It's tough, right? It's tough. I would, I don't know. If Barca can't get anyone else, I think we might be stuck with Ferran and Lewandowski 1 more year, which is not ideal. I would agree, Laila. Who's the 10 right now? That's a trick question. And actually, no one. We're not playing with a 10 anymore. If you look at our games for the last months, I would say we're not playing with number 10 anymore. We are playing with players who have qualities or traits of number 10s, but we're not playing with a 10. We're playing with a much clearer 4-3-3, actually, two interiors. And to answer the question, the best 10 is probably Olmo, but then Fermin is a different kind of 10 when they're played as 10s. Olmo, interesting enough, I love when he's got this left center midfielder, left interior deeper role. He's been played there a couple of times this season. I want to say two times to be exact. When Pedri wasn't there, and he did well both times. This kind of answers just this next question. Do you think Olmo can be better in a deeper position? He plays much better in double pivot. I think he does have the qualities to play as a left center midfielder. But the reality is, he's never going to play there over Pedri. And even De Jong plays there really well. And Gavi, when he comes back, Gavi is an excellent left center midfielder. Bernal can be an excellent left center. We have a lot of left center midfielders, to be honest with you guys. A lot of great interiors. So almost chance is not going to be there because he's way down the line in the pecking order. I think number 10 or that right center midfielder, um, that's where he can hope to achieve something again in the starting lineup. What Premier League teams children are you monitoring the most? Spurs employ um Rashford, Liverpool, COA. None of them. I am monitoring Man United at the moment, and I do keep tabs on Arsenal because I don't know. I obviously everyone is either a big fan of Arsenal or a massive hater of Arsenal, but I've been following um, Man United's resurgence in the last couple of weeks or so. I mean, it's quite fascinating how you can sack Ruben Amorim and you can achieve results instantly. It is something that is really fascinating to see. And we do generally overrate the influence of coaches in top European football or any top football, but there was clearly something there at United that just didn't click. And I was always under the impression that Man United's flaws or whatever you want to call them, problems run deeper than the coach. And I still think they do. But then this is obviously massive, massive improvement from them. Flick played Cancelo left wing today. Those, yeah, me neither because he's just not at the required level, both quality or just match sharpness thing. Busquets was the purest six ever hit a per combination. Everyone else would be a mix. I assume you're talking about Bernal, and yes, he is similar to Rodri. And I talked about this in the piece that I linked. Very similar to Rodri, and he does have some Pedri in him as well, which is actually fucking amazing. Excuse my French. Cancelo left a winger. Yeah, I mean, could be an option. I guess it's less defensive responsibility, just pressing, which is equally as important, even more important for Flick's system. But then if he can press, it would, and he has a good counter pressing tool in general, just when he's fit and firing. Guys, there's a lot of comments here. My throat is getting dry. We need a striker profile like Lewandowski. I do agree. I think so. Everyone says yes, Julian Alvarez would be the guy for us. I don't think so. I think he would score a lot of goals for Barca. I don't doubt that he would be a useful player because he's a nine that generates football, and that's always going to be Barca's preference, I would say. But I would agree a different profile would take us much much higher overall. Xavi Espart starting at right back. You think so? I don't really. I think would Flick have done this already? He deemed it necessary. That's my thing. That is my thing. Because obviously we are seeing the very worst image of Kounde, and he's still playing. Right, Flick is not really rotating him as much. I prefer Lookman over Rashford because goals in him were better. Yeah, Lookman was in my short list as well. Rashford wasn't really. He was, but not really. Um, I do agree that he's got traits. I don't know if he would be a better player than Rashford. I think Rashford has immense quality. It's just the transition, the cultural change, all that is very difficult for to go from Man United to Barca is not the easiest thing in the world. I would say. I'm trying to see if these guys that yeah okay stream fixed they said so people are watching, um, which I'm glad. I'm really happy you guys are enjoying it. There's 1,000 people on X. Fantastic. Thank you so much, um, guys. Rooney needs more minutes. He's earned them. It's just difficult to displace Lamine. It's just impossible because Lamine plays when Lamine wants to play, and Lamine wants to play all the time. And the way he's playing, you can't blame Flick for not benching or rotating him, right? Um, Imagine Barca face a big team. Yeah, I think this is still a real possibility that we might get beaten by a bigger team in Europe. I think so. I just ah it's a reality we have to face. But then if the second half Barca can appear in the first half as well, then it's a different story. But that's something for Flick uh, to solve, I guess. Mbappe or Yamal. Mbappe is amazing, but Yamal is the best player on the planet at the moment. Pedri Bernal Frenkie, dude, the dream. At the moment, this would change our lives. I'm telling you, if and when, let's say, when Bernal reaches the level that he can actually start games, this trio will obliterate. I'm sure of it. Bernal has his weaknesses off the ball. They all three have. Pedri obviously is the most complete one. Let's put it that way, but still, he's not a big distance kind of player. So it's but that trident in theory just does everything you want, everything basically. Mark, I wish I would be a senior for Barca. Oh, I think a center back would solve so much. I would go. Um, I would go for a for a center back. I just would because it's much needed. Christensen is made of glass. Araujo, we don't know what's going to happen with Araujo. Eric and Kubarsi are fine, but maybe not the thing that will make Barca raise their ceiling. Final comment, guys. I've made it through all of them. Thank you so much for that. I'm a Madrid fan and you sub. Fantastic. If you like Barca tactics, um, go right here, right? BarcaFootball.com. This is where we put all our most in depth stuff, and this is where all the analysis goes. Some of the pieces are paid. I'm just gonna put it there because we need to start making more money. Most of our content, all of our content, has been free for years, guys, for years. But there comes a point where we just can't do this for free all the time. We just need to make some money out of it. Otherwise, it's just a hobby that's so time consuming that you have to do streams, podcasts, videos, shorts, pieces, live streams, tweets, everything every week. And it's too taxing to do for free. It just, unfortunately, that's the state of it. So thank you all for joining. It's been a pleasure again. Around 1,000 people are watching at the moment. I thank you for that. Yes, I would encourage you to have a look at our content and subscribe to uh, obviously Barca football on social media, X in particular, and obviously follow us on Twitch, on YouTube. We do have a podcast that's called The Fullback. I will link Fullback for you just now. It's on Spotify and iTunes or something. Wait, give me 1 second. I will. There you go. Spotify. So yeah, guys, it's been a blast. 51 minutes. I think that's it for me. My throat is sore. I can't speak anymore, and I think we had a lot of questions. And thank you for that. So I will see you probably midweek after that game. Let me just quickly check the time and on all of the matches. Let's see. Actually it's Thursday. I thought it was Tuesday for some reason. No, it is Thursday. So I will see you Thursday for that game against Atletico Madrid. The first leg played away. Oh, that will be a blast. Right, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for joining. Please subscribe if you want to, and we'll talk to you guys soon.